I love and appreciate you guys. Understand this. We didn't get here without every single person in this room. We got here together. Let's finish this thing together. Everybody got me? Let's go do this thing.
Welcome back to another very special edition of Whiteout Weekly as your Penn State Nittany Lions have touched down in Glendale to play in the Fiesta Bowl, one of the craziest bowls, I think, in the history of bowl games, going all the way back to that Boise State game with Kellen Moore, I think, when they were
Jared Zabransky.
the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, to Ian Johnson. I think it was
Yeah,
Jared
that was
Zabransky was the quarterback.
magical, absolutely magical. But tides have turned. We now are against the Blue Turf Smurfs, aka the Idaho Potatoes, aka the Boise State Broncos. Number 4 seed, they got a bye in the college football playoff as the winners of the Mountain West. They beat UNLV 2 times, so I don't really know if you can consider yourself a champion beating the same team just twice in the season, calling it wraps for the conference. But we move on as the final 8 college football teams battle it out for the Final Four and the rights to go to the national championship. So this line, I was checking it. I mean, we were crushing SMU. So I was already looking at what the line might be. And my guess was like Penn State maybe favored by 4.5, like something weird like that. Have it start at 10.5. Is that saying Boise State does not belong, or is that saying Penn State's the real deal here?
I don't think it's that Boise State doesn't belong. I think they definitely had a phenomenal year. Obviously, Jeanty, who we'll talk about at length, is a absurd talent. But I think when you look at Penn State, yes, Boise State has had a remarkable year, but the talent between the two, I think when you take Jeanty out of the equation and just look across the board at player for player, Penn State definitely has proven that they belong and that they are for real this year. Albeit, I know they had the tough Big Ten championship loss to Oregon, but they showed a different kind of fight in that game that you haven't seen in previous years from Penn State. And then obviously just absolutely smoking SMU at home in that bittery cold environment. But I
Which
think Penn State's definitely
neither of
for
us saw
real.
coming, by the way. We both
Yeah.
had like kind of close games. I don't think anyone had Penn State blowing them out. Was
No,
it?
not by that far of a margin. But
Yeah.
I think it's definitely Penn State's for real. The talent is definitely superior. Obviously, you got Jeanty, who is the big, not, I don't want to call it wild card, but he's the one that could really keep Boise State in this one because they go as he goes more than probably anyone in the country and any other player for any other team. So I think it's a little bit of combination of each of those things.
Yeah. Yeah. Very political answer. I like that. Uh,
I also
the,
just want to
the,
say that the Tostitos does have a ton of flair, or sorry, the Fiesta Bowl, but they did lose a little bit of buzz once they dropped Tostitos as the sponsor.
I know, right? I looked at it. I was like, it's Verbo, not Tostitos. What the
Got to be
heck?
the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl.
It's got to be Tostitos. So the line moved up. It's now at 11. Penn State minus 11. Some books have it at 11.5. Good news for Penn State fans. A lot of the tickets are on the Boise State Broncos, but the money is pretty much even. 60% tickets on the Broncos, 40% of the tickets are on Penn State. So you can do with that info what you will. I think that leans Penn State, but that's the biggest spread out of those 4 games besides Texas, who I think is 12.5 now
Mhm.
against Arizona State. And then Ohio State -2 or 2.5 against Oregon. That was kind of expected.
Yep.
Georgia, obviously losing Carson Beck is humongous. And I think they're still favored by 1.5,
Hmm.
even without Carson Beck, which means we could potentially face Notre Dame in the semifinals. But don't get ahead of ourselves. Want to know mentality every week.
Hmm.
So let's break down these Broncos who have been eligible for a bowl for 26 straight seasons. I saw that stat and I was that remarkable.
Hmm.
26 straight seasons being eligible for a bowl. They're led by their semi-new head coach. In his second year, he was the interim last year. And as I said, they got the bye, galloping into the playoffs by the all-world running back Ashton Jeanty, aka Michael Myers in the backfield. But before we talk about him, because he's obviously Boise's biggest impact player, let's shout out a few other names that we might have to look out for, including their quarterback, Maddox Manson. Again, another Miller Moss, Basilisk on Bowling Green, just slithering quarterbacks all throughout the Big Ten. He actually battled a USC freshman transfer,
Hmm.
Malachi Nelson, for the starting job. Won it. He is very much like Drew Aller in the sense that he takes care of the ball, does not like to throw into any kind of double coverage, any kind of thing that would possibly result in a turnover. 22 touchdowns thrown to 3 interceptions, also has 5 rushing touchdowns. But I really want to give focus to this offensive line.
Hmm.
They are legit. Only 10 sacks allowed on the season. And when you have even just a decent offensive line, I feel like in front of Genty, he's going to have pile up numbers. And what do you know? They have a really good offensive line, and he's about to break possibly Barry Sanders' record for most rushing yards in Division One football history. So with the passing game, it's just some big boys out there for the Nittany Lions to deal with. Main target that Manson throws to, number 9, Cam Camper, with some Big Ten familiarity as an Indiana transfer. He has 82 targets thrown his way. That's 22 more than Boise State's second most targeted receiver, which is tight end Matt Louder. Another big boy. He's 6'3", 240. Big part of the passing game, as you can tell, and a huge part of that offensive line here that's just paving the way for Genty to put up those kind of historic numbers. Big thing with Camper is contested catches. We've talked, I forget what game it was, a couple weeks ago, but there was a couple quarterbacks who've contested catches are not their strong suit. It's
Hmm.
kind of like let's just throw it up to the biggest guy on our team. Hopefully, he comes down with it. Manson actually can drop it in the bucket. Um, Camper, 6'3". He's had 9 contested catches and 16 thrown his way. And their slot receiver, Latrell Caples, is 6'1", 190. Another just absolute monster. 7 contested catches on 9 thrown his way. So another tough test for this Penn State secondary, but I think this is like the 5th time that we said that.
Hmm.
Kind of seeing the final boss in wide receiver rooms with the Oregon matchup with Tez Johnson, Terrace Ferguson, Evan Stewart, and then having to play Ohio State with all those talented wide receivers. So I usually coming into this preparing, I'm always worried about the secondary, and then I'm like, wait a second. We kind of always step up in those
Mhm.
big moments. So now to the big problem. The Heisman finalist came in second, Ashton Jeanty. Like I said, he's only 132 yards away from breaking Barry Sanders' all-time Division One college football rushing record. And Dave, I have to come to you. How do we stop this guy? I'm lost.
Yeah, not many teams have. I think on the year, I think his lowest output has been 127 yards. So he's gained at least 127 yards on the ground in every single game. I think he's gone for 200 plus in almost half of their contests. So it truly is a historic season. And you can't even say that they are feeding him the rock a ton. I think he's got about 340, almost 350 carries. So there's a lot of tread on those tires, but he's averaging, his yards per carry is what, almost seven, a little over 7 yards per carry,
7.3 on
7.3.
344 attempts.
And,
That is impressive.
so the recipe definitely is, I mean, you're going to have to load at least seven guys in the box. So
Yeah.
it's going to be critical not only for Penn State's D line but also the linebackers to really show up in this one. But also, what I would look at is the level of competition that he's going against. I think Penn State's front four is probably the best aside from Oregon, which was a week one matchup. So Oregon wasn't even in full form. That game was definitely a little bit closer, but you're going to have to load the box. And I don't know that Penn State's D, albeit how good they are, will be able to fully shut him down. It's really just being able to contain him as much as possible and really putting Maddox Manson in situations where he has to try to beat you and make a play. Because when you look at Manson, yes, he's been able to take care of the ball, but I think it's in, again, almost half of their contests. I think he's gone for less than 200 yards passing. So they've truly been able to lean on Jeanty to really carry them to, 12 of their wins. Manson hasn't really
Quite
had to
literally carry them.
quite literally carry them. Manson hasn't had to do much. I mean, when you're a quarterback not having to throw for more than 200 yards and you're still getting wins, that running game has been pretty formidable. So I don't think you're going to be able to totally shut it down, but it's really, he'll probably get 100 and it'll be a tough 100. But you really just got to contain him and make sure that you don't let him get to the second and third level.
Especially, I love that point, especially in the second half.
Hmm.
Making them convert on third and longs in the second half, I think is going to be huge because yeah, he's going to get his. This guy is one of the best running backs we've seen in the past 25 years. So yeah, I think he's going to probably go for over 100, but it's just mitigating that.
Hmm.
It's just like when is it going to happen? First half, sure.
Hmm.
Let him have all the yards in the first half. We can give him third and longs and tough situations to convert in the second half. I think they might have to lean away from it and either like get him into the screen game or possibly like running back angles or something. Or, but yeah, I
Hmm.
totally agree with you. Put the ball in Manson's hands.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so their schedule, you kind of talked about their Oregon loss and lost by three.
Hmm.
But again, early in the season, Dylan Gabriel was 28 of 31 that game.
Hmm.
But fun fact, Boise is actually 3-0 straight up against the Ducks leading up into that game.
Hmm.
And if you look at the rest of their schedule, it's just Mountain West after Mountain West. Just Portland State, Washington State, name any state on the West Coast, and they played them, including the University of Las Vegas, who they beat twice to win the Mountain West to get that bye.
Mhm.
And another fun fact, they're 8-0 against UNLV since they joined the Mountain West. So it's kind of like a big brother, little brother thing.
Mhm.
So people that are talking about, oh, two top 25 wins, come on. They beat them 8 times. So going into this, I was looking at it and I was like, we have this is it. This is the easiest path to the playoff of all time. But Genty and a couple players that I see you have noted here on their defense kind of scare me.
Yeah, really, when you look at their defense, the key cogs in that defense are their edge rushers. So coming off both sides, you got number 91, Ahmed Hassanin. Hassanin, I think I got that right.
Hmm.
We'll find out on the broadcast. And then Jaden Virgin Morgan. Between the two of them, they got 8.5 and then 10 sacks, respectively. Together, they've combined for 28 tackles for loss and then 11 QB hurries. So they definitely know how to get after the quarterback. I think the good news for Penn State is their offensive line. When you look at the position groups, I mean, Penn State has been solid across the board all year, but really that offensive line has come into their own. So this will be another key test, and these guys have been, been able to produce all year long. But when you look at defensive lines that this team has faced, and when you go back to what I'm talking about between the talent, I guess you call it talent gap, when you look at what they faced in Oregon with the Jordan Birch and the guys that they had coming off the edge, a JTT with Ohio State, they faced guys like this and even better than this before. So it'll be another test for the offensive line, but I think you definitely have to be encouraged with what you've seen from a guy like Nolan Rucci holding down the right side of the line since Donka's gone out. Sal Wormley, Drew Shelton, all those guys have been solid all year long. So I think it's another test for them, but I don't think it's anything that they can't handle.
Yeah, going off that, I have 7 names right here that I don't think we have given enough respect to the Penn State offensive line. JB Nelson, Anthony
Mhm.
Donka, Nolan Rucci,
Yep.
Sal Wormley, Drew Shelton, Big Ione, Nick Dawkins.
Hmm.
I mean, all those guys combined, 7 sacks allowed or
Hmm.
attributed to them. That's absurd for 12 games or 13
Yeah.
games so far. Uh, totally agree with you there. And yeah, we have not given enough compliments to this offensive line. They are just absolutely key. Speaking of key, do you have a key matchup or macro matchup that we could exploit to beat these Broncos?
I do, and I think it really boils down to a lot. Both of these things that really seem like fundamentals, but I can't emphasize enough, especially with how much we've already been talking about a guy like Ashton Jeanty and what he's meant to Boise State, what he's capable of. But tackling has got to be of the utmost focus, and hopefully what the team's been focused on in practice leading up to this game. And
Oh
I
yeah,
think
there was a lot of missed tackles in that SMU game. I will say that.
a
That
lot
was
of missed
that was
tackles.
one complaint.
Especially coming out the gate. It was another slow start for them. SMU on that very first drive was able to march right down the field, although they weren't able to convert. Penn State had the big fourth down stop. It was definitely not the best of starts, and they haven't had many this season. But when you look at tackling, and we rattled off all the numbers for Genty, really for me, the most remarkable, I think, at least for me, for all of those numbers that you can throw out with what he's been able to do this year is almost 3/4 of his total yards gained this year have been after contact. I think it's almost 1,900 yards of his
That's
almost 2,500 rushing yards have been after contact. So that means that arm tackling is not going to get it done. Solo tackling typically is not. It's going to be a lot of gang tackling, wrapping up, and making sure you get them on the
warm to
ground.
the ball.
And yeah, swarm into the ball. And like I said, Penn State has been extremely formidable against the run. I think they've only allowed one 100-yard rusher, and that was against USC. So there's a respect factor there where hey they've proven all year long that they haven't given up the big gain, but also this is an all-world talent that we're talking about. So I think it goes back to what we're talking about where he's gonna get his, but you definitely can't let him to get to that second and third level. If you're in a situation where your safeties become your leading tacklers in the game, that's
Hmm.
not going to be a good sign. So linebackers are going to have to step up. Rojas, who had a big game against SMU, which was extremely encouraging. Kobe King had a huge game against SMU. I think he tied his career high in tackles with 10. So
Very.
those guys have to
No one
show
talked
up.
about Kobe King, by the way.
Yeah,
He had one of the best games of his career. It was
huge
amazing.
game.
I mean, Dom DeLuca kind of
Obviously, DeLuca, yeah,
stole
who
the
I
show
forgot to
with his
mention,
two
but
picks, the Italian stallion over there.
but yeah, the three of those guys are definitely gonna have to step up. And then the second key is time of possession. You know, one of the best
Mhm.
keys to stopping Genty is going to be keeping them off the field. So Penn State has a real opportunity here to be able to churn out some rushing yards, which should also set up some explosive plays for them. So Boise State, their methodology and on defense is they try to get after the quarterback, and if they can't, they get absolutely torched.
Okay.
111th in the nation in explosive plays given up, which counteract that with how successful Penn State has been at generating explosive plays. Not a good recipe for Boise State. So staying committed to the run game should allow them to create those explosive plays and really be able to take advantage of those opportunities when they come.
Yeah, 100%. Uh, I love it. Amari Evans, I think, is going to be
Yeah.
a factor in this game. Deep. Tyler Warren as well. Um, that's going to be my key matchup. A lot of analysts, I don't know if they're looking for little chinks in our armor, but they're saying we're a little too Tyler Warren heavy. Like teams know that we're just going to pass Tyler Warren all the time. But if you looked at the game against SMU, he didn't lead the team in receiving yards or rushing yards.
Mhm.
Did play most of all the snaps, but he brought his lunch pail, went to work blocking for Katron and Nick the Quick, and they both rushed for over 70 yards, I believe.
Mhm.
So I kind of wish this was a colder weather game again, because tackling those two, like we saw, r- rattles defenders for plays. Like just that impact is going to mess with you for a couple plays after that. And we saw it, and I think we should have texted each other during Kevin Jennings pregame uh, conference when they were talking to him on the field. He
Mhm.
kept
Yeah.
been like, bro, let's toss all the money we have on Penn State. This
Yeah.
kid is not ready for this cold.
Uh,
He hasn't even been hit yet, and he's already like cold as shit. So yeah, which just was a colder game,
mhm.
but it's not. So got to go with something else, and I want to attack this Boise State passing defense because it ain't it. They're allowing almost 250 yards passing per game. That's more than Maryland, UCLA, and Boston College for context, and only 6 yards average less than Purdue's passing defense. So their opponents, remember how I said not quite the best in the
Mhm.
Mountain West. Oregon only threw for 243. So it's not like they skewed the numbers or anything. They are legit a bad passing defense
Mhm.
in the Mountain West. So I think their mission obviously is similar to ours, limit the running backs' impact. And they're going to have a tough time because we just heard Franklin in his press conference saying that Grunkmeyer is going to be in a couple packages.
Mhm.
Tyler Warren's going to be in that wild card, so you never know what Penn State's going to do. And the past couple weeks, it just seems like the big Zamboni's just been in his bag.
Hmm.
Like there's a couple, like tough passes that Drew used to make with crossers and slants, but every like 1 in 20 plays, he just has a dude wide open down the
Hmm.
sideline. That's been scheming up from those plays that he's drawing up the whole entire game. And then yeah, defensively, God bless the Italian stallion, rocking number 0 as the special teams captain for the second year in a row, right?
Hmm.
Absolutely love it. Dom DeLuca. Hope you're listening. But yeah, that entire linebacker room was flying around the field, and the need to keep that energy up, getting off blocks, coming up from their line, secondary, and just yeah, we're not going to shut down Ashton Jeanty. Let's just get that out there.
Hmm.
We just need to mitigate it. Just mitigate the damage that he can do to our defense. And like we said last week, we did not expect us to put up that many points against Oregon's defense. So even if Genty does slice and dice us,
Hmm.
I could see it being a high scoring affair.
Yeah.
So with that, do you want to go prediction first or iron line first?
Let's go Iron Lion.
All right, here you go.
Sticking on the offensive side of the ball, I'm going with our guy Nick the Quick.
Ooh.
And I think it's been extremely critical these last few weeks. You could definitely tell that he has continued to, and it seems to be at this point where he's really 100% healthy, battled some sort of injuries all throughout the year, missed some action, wasn't quite himself. But really, as that offensive line has continued to gel and as he's gotten healthy, the offense, and you're exactly right where Koto Nicky's definitely been in his bag these last several weeks and really dialing up all the right calls. But it is also just extremely evident that the offense goes as Singleton goes. His dimension, whether it's in the passing game or the rushing game, he just adds that different element of that game breaker speed that has also been able to unlock his running mate Katron Allen as well. Where when Singleton wasn't quite at
Mhm.
his best this year, you could see whether you're box score watching or just watching the games, Katron wasn't quite himself. But since Singleton has really been able to come back into form, the two of them have really been able to dominate. But for Singleton, these last three contests between Maryland, Oregon, SMU, he's gone for 282 yards and averaging 7.6 yards per carry. So with him being able to produce at that type of level, my he's my iron line pick for this game, and also bold prediction is that I expect him to have at least one explosive run for a touchdown.
Yeah, would love that. Would love that. Get the juices flowing early.
Right.
And going back to your point, sort of a running back versus running back battle here. Ashton Jeanty has 135 missed tackles forced this year.
Hmm.
Second place is Ahmad Hardy from Louisiana, Monroe, 94. Dude almost has 50 more missed tackles forced than the second place guy in college
Insane.
football. So yeah, we're gonna have our hands full, but like we said, we're not gonna stop them, mitigate the losses.
Hmm.
So obviously big news coming out. The cover king, Bo Pribula,
Hmm.
transferring, getting a nice little 1.2 mil
Hmm.
from Mizzou, but my iron line is 15.
Hmm.
Drew Allar has to take over this game. We always praise how he protects the ball, doesn't force unnecessary turnovers, which, can look boring at times when receivers aren't getting open and he has to kind of wait, scramble, throw it out of bounds. but he's proven that he is elite this year.
Mhm.
His ball placement, arm accuracy, arm power, we knew that it was good, but his processing and decision making, I think this year has gone through the roof with
Mhm.
his reads being able to go one, two, check down. And if the check down's not there, he's running for that first down, which I don't think a lot of us expected coming into the season. Seeing him use his legs as much as he has.
Mhm.
But I think this is not only a spot where he puts up numbers in for the box score watchers, but I think he's going to have some like highlight plays that we did mention coming back next season. He's going to have some highlight plays that they're going to be like, oh, this kid's going to be top five for the Heisman talks next year.
Mhm.
And speaking of coming back next year, Big Zamboni
Mhm.
also coming back. So pumped about both of that. Sucks to have Bo leave, but you know, in that situation, you expected either Allard to go to the NFL or
Mhm.
he wasn't, but was gonna transfer.
Yeah.
So nothing but the best of Bo. We absolutely love you for covering all those games for us.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Our wallets thank you as well.
Yes. My DraftKings balance. Thanks you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
So
Drew's ability to navigate the pocket this year has definitely been in my mind sensational.
yeah.
And I think that has definitely helped him move to that elite status. He's not only making the right throws, but just his ability to navigate the pocket, read the pressure, step up, now, know when to take it and run has just been otherworldly, and he's just definitely been clicking with Kotelnicki. So, as you mentioned, another coming back next year definitely is very scary of what they can do and what type of numbers they can put up, especially with getting some additional, hopefully, wide receiver help through the portal. But we'll talk about that in the offseason. But for now, all the other piece for Drew too, when you talk about improving his Heisman odds for next year, and then also not this year's draft, but the following year's draft. This is another national stage game where he had that against SMU. Didn't
Mhm.
quite have to produce at the level that you would like to see. I know the weather definitely had an impact, but ultimately that game just got away quickly, and they didn't need him. But we're talking about Penn State playing relevant football on New Year's Eve in the college football playoff. It'll be the only game on TV tomorrow night. All the other games are New Year's Day. So it's just another huge national stage
God, you got me so
for I
pumped.
know,
I
for him
can't
to be
wait.
able to show up and show out. So I'm definitely with you on that pick and excited to see what he's able to do tomorrow night.
Yeah, and it feels like he's just like another level of cool and calm. And
Yeah.
it gets the bigger the stage, the like cooler, calmer he gets,
Hmm.
which is weird. Because
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he has a good acting face, but I think it's real. Like he's
Hmm.
the bigger the stage gets, he's like, I know what
Yeah.
I gotta do. I put in the work.
Hmm.
It's just gonna come out in the field, and you guys are gonna see. And I think the nation's gonna see that he's probably gonna be the Heisman front runner heading into next season.
Hmm. I dig it.
So we got a we got a big spread here. I didn't mention the total. Um, 53 on the dot last time I
Yep.
saw. You
Yeah,
want to double
53.
check me on that?
See if it's moved.
Yeah, so Penn State officially, or Boise State officially has 60% of the tickets. Penn State with 40% with 25,000 bets in. Boise State has 53% of the money. Penn State has 46, which climbed from
Hmm.
30 earlier today. So the sharps are coming in on Penn State.
Hmm.
Good news. Good news. So given the 53 confirmed,
I see DraftKings 53 and a half, so it looks like it's moving a little bit.
Ooh, hell, halfway. Don't want to get caught on that hook. I'm gonna go. So again, it's like I'm just looking at the schedule. It's like Portland State, Washington State, Wyoming, and then the two UNLV games are like their big wins.
Mhm.
So I don't want to be like a homer here, but I think it's going to be like a 38-10 game, to be honest. I think Genty gets his 100, scores a touchdown in the first half, and then I think it's name of the game all season. Penn
Mhm.
State halftime adjustments
Yep.
always are killer. So I think, yeah, Genty will get his in the first half. We're going to adjust at halftime offensively and defensively. I'm going 38-10. I think at halftime it'll be a little bit closer, but I think we should actually shut them out in the second half. That's going to be my bold prediction.
I like it. I'm a little bit closer. I do think that Penn State should win this one handily. And again, going into this one, understanding the magnitude of the matchup, hey, 1-0 mentality, but hey, you're one win away from being in the Final Four, the college football playoff, being one win away from national championship appearance. I think this team understands that, and some of the commentary going into this matchup and how the team's prepared for this game is they're not looking at it as this is a bowl game or a New Year's Six game, which is what they've been accustomed to in the past. They're looking at this, they called it a business trip. So,
Love it. Love it.
and a lot of folks have been talking and referencing back. We even did a little bit to Boise State's previous years Fiesta Bowl magic. Boise State's 3-0 all time in the Fiesta Bowl,
That
but Penn
was
State,
the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl, not the
that's right,
Verbo.
not the Verbo. It was the Tostitos.
Yeah,
But the
totally
fact of the
different
matter
story.
is that Penn State is actually also undefeated in Fiesta Bowls. They are
Ah,
7-0,
very good. Very
including
nice
the
fact.
classic national championship win back in 1986. So Penn State has the Fiesta Bowl magic of their own. I think the coaching staff will have this team ready to go, even if it's another slow start. Obviously, don't want to see that. I don't think there's going to be any panic from this team, similar to what you saw against Oregon, where they got down by a ton early and fought back. I think this team's confident. They know what they're capable of. I am going with a final score of 35-17. I think Penn
A little more
State,
realistic than mine. Yeah.
think they win it handily. I think it's maybe a little bit of a slower start, a little bit closer in the beginning of the game, but I think Penn State's in a spot where they're not going to beat themselves. They're not going to turn the ball over. They're going to win on special teams, and they advance to Miami in the Orange Bowl.
I love it. All right. So the Big Ten betting bonanza has been wrapped up. The trophy's over there. I was gonna say, congratulations to Dave Barron. Got married. The wedding cake topper. So he had his head leaned over there just to block the trophy. So we wouldn't see it. But that thing's coming back to me.
Yeah.
Let's pick the Notre Dame Georgia game and the Penn State game.
Okay.
You can go first because you're just got married.
I will
My
go.
wedding present to you.
Oh, thank you, sir. I'm going to go. I'll start with the Georgia Notre Dame game, although I would love that Notre Dame matchup as I have hated Notre Dame all my life, and that would be a great storyline. I am not kind of out in the dogs in this one. Yes, Carson Beck being out is huge, but Kirby Smart knows how to win these big games. And for me in particular, if Georgia does win and Penn State wins, this will be a big family war as my wife's a Georgia grad, and her entire side of the family is Georgia fans. So that would cause for an interesting matchup in the Barron household.
We're
So
talking about possibly getting tickets to
We're
the
talking about maybe going.
possibly going together. So
So I'm going.
maybe I
I
have to
think
sit
this.
this one out if it's
Yeah,
if it's going to be a
yeah, I
family
know, right?
clash.
So I
We'll
think
call
dogs
that.
are. I think it's pretty much a pick 'em right now. I think dogs -1 at this point. But I'm going Georgia money line.
I'm gonna go with the under 45 in that game. I think both defenses are extremely
Yep.
overrated. Xavier Watts on Notre Dame is an absolute beast. Georgia, a new quarterback, might take him a few series to get his legs under him, feel comfortable in that game. So yeah, I'll easily go ahead and take that under 45 total for that game.
Like it.
Let's just do all four games. Why not? Fuck it.
Let's do it.
What do you got for your next pick? Let's go to the Texas game.
Texas game. Looking up my lines here.
Minus 12 and a half. Over under 51 is what I'm seeing. I'm in Florida, so I got to use Hard Rock, the Hard Rock Bet Casino app to bet down here. It's hysterical, dude.
For that matchup, so that's the Peach Bowl matchup. Another big spread in that one. I think Texas does probably win this matchup, but I think Arizona State they're feisty, and I really do like their
People are
running back.
counting them out wait like right away. They got to buy for a
Yeah,
reason, you know?
yeah, yeah. They've been solid all season. I do really like their running back Cam Scatabo. He's been a cool national storyline too. Just an
Mhm.
absolute beast at the running back position. So I do like the Sun Devils at plus 12 and a half. I'm actually going to take the over in this one. I'm going to go ahead and take the over 51. I can see this being a high scoring affair. I think, again, ultimately Texas comes out with the win, but I think Arizona State will keep it a little bit more competitive and put up some points.
Yeah, that Texas secondary is pretty legit.
Yeah.
I will admit that. But yeah, I like that pick. Um, Ohio State, Oregon. How the hell is Oregon plus two? Is this Hard Rock messing with me? Do you see that as well?
Oregon. Yeah, I got Oregon plus 2.5 on DraftKings.
Jesus, Hard Rock. You're
Hmm.
even screwing me up. I'll take the Oregon money line all day, plus 110. Are you kidding me? Number one team in the nation. Dylan Gabriel, we saw what I mean, the ball comes out of his hand in under a
Yeah.
second every
Mhm.
single time. And if he's not getting it going with screen passes or crossers or whatever, Jordan
Mhm.
James can easily slice and dice that defense.
Yeah.
Their interior is not nearly on the level of a Penn State or a Michigan. So
Mhm.
I like Oregon. I cannot believe they're underdogs in that game. But
Yeah, I think it's probably riding the high of Ohio State's dominant win over Tennessee and anticipating that that's the team that shows up. But I don't think you
yeah,
can.
that was
I
a
don't think
weird
you can
first round, right?
underestimate Ryan Day in big games. I know there's a lot of pressure on that for him to be able to not lose twice to Oregon and make it, but especially in a season where he's already lost to Michigan, there's definitely going to be a lot of pressure on him. But I agree. I think Oregon does come out on top again. I think Oregon's
So
best in
as an Ohio State fan, though, he's lost to Michigan four times now.
in a
Are
row.
you like sincerely from the bottom of your heart rooting for this guy to win a national championship?
Mm-mm.
Or do you want him to slip up so you can be like, all right, that's the scapegoat. We can finally get rid of fucking Ryan Day and get a guy who can beat Michigan.
With how serious that rivalry is, I think there's probably Ohio State fans where even if they did win the Natty, they'd probably still want him gone.
Dude, their goals for the year: one, beat Michigan; two,
Hmm.
win the Big Ten; three, national championship.
Yeah.
They're on their third goal.
Yeah.
Like, all right, if you want, tough situation to be in.
Yeah,
Tough
for sure.
situation to be in. And then what do we got left? Notre Dame. Or did
No,
you pick
pick
that
that
one?
one, all right? So we got 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, we got the game. Penn State, Boise State.
Hey, Boise State. I'm gonna go with. Look at my first. Let's see here.
I'm now realizing my final score would not put me on the over. So I'm gonna go 38. No, 45-10. I'm not
45.
I'm not
Ooh,
I'm not giving the
fan of that
Broncos another
margin.
touchdown. I'm not giving them another touchdown. It's gonna be the new cover king Grunkmeyer, baby. You just
You
got
just got
grunked.
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 I'm gonna go with Boise State team total. I'm looking at under under 17 and a half at plus 120. I like those odds. I think Boise State at most gets 17,
Mhm.
but I'll go Boise State team total under 17 and a half.
That could, yeah, that could be the hook that you gave in your prediction.
It's the hook, baby.
Smart betting by the Croatian Bear.
Got to get
And
something this
you know
season.
what?
It's been a lost season. I need some wins.
You just got married. Keep that dumbbell another year.
Oh, man.
Keep it, man. I've won it 3 times. We gotta, if I beat you a fourth time, then you gotta send it back. But,
I got it. Yeah. We'll figure out something else.
but
But I
yeah,
would love to house it on the
keep that for
shelf.
next year, for sure.
Love to don it another year. And
For sure. Those look great together. Big Ten,
yeah, it's good. It would
dumbbell.
ruin the symmetry.
Yeah, love it. Absolutely love it. So, once again, I want to thank everyone for either tuning into the podcast, following us on social media, however you get your Whiteout Weekly news. We sincerely, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much. We continue to be an independent journalist, if you want to call it that, news organization, podcast, and we can't do it without you guys. So thank you so much. Let's go state. Let's get another podcast in. Hey,
Mhm.
let's get 2 more podcasts in. Let's get to
Right.
the natty, baby. I'm ready for it.
Bring in the new year with the dub, baby.
And isn't it the natty's in
Atlanta, come
I
on
might
down. You just
dude,
come on down.
how long in between the Orange Bowl and isn't there like 10 days?
Yeah, I think Orange Bowl would be Thursday the 9th, and then the Natty would be Monday the 20th.
How long till you get sick of me if I stay at your house for like 10 days?
Come on down.
Yeah, just post up on your couch for 10
Yeah,
days.
that's some great material.
Yeah, it'd be amazing. All right. Thank you guys so much. We love doing this, and we love that you guys like listening to us. Can't imagine that people actually enjoy us talking. Would never have thought about that when we started this, but it's awesome. It's really cool. Love you guys. Let's go state. Beat those blue Smurfs out of Glendale.
Go State. Happy New Year, guys.
Happy New Year.